Palworld data mine uncovers a Mewtwo-like pal as Pokemon copycat saga continues. Does anyone think that they have similarities? But I don't know. This is one of those ones where I feel like Pokemon fans are just gonna be like, that trash can? That's our Pokemon. Motherfucker, you copied it. Keychains? That's our Pokemon too. They're just kind of like trying to claim everything. Look up Mega Mewtwo. Hands down, all of these Pokemon and like Monster Con, whatever the hell you want to call them, definitely copy from each other. They do. I don't think anyone's arguing that. I don't think anyone's arguing that they all borrow and copy from each other. They don't. But I would also like to point to the fact of Digimon. Like there's so many similarities between other characters. It's just like, there's nothing original anymore. There's nothing unique anymore. It's just a mashup of different character traits that people like. And to be honest, that Eevee, the Eevee one, I forgot what it's like, Creamy or whatever the hell it's called. That one, yeah, hands down, that one's a copy. Some of the other ones, they're being very heavily inspired, but again, no one's gonna confuse the two. If they ever go into like a copyright infringement case, it's on Nintendo to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that someone would confuse this monster for their own game, right? Like it's just, Palworld just made the game people wanted to play and Pokemon was too lazy to make. I mean, yeah, it's pretty bad. All the Pokemon games for Switch have just been absolutely dog. But this one is one of the ones that's been data mined. It's in the game, or supposedly in the game. It's ready. I'm like, cool, when can I capture it? The way art works, art is built on previous art and it's iterated and transformed. So yeah, there are gonna be things that look close together, but at the same time, I don't think the consumer really cares, to be honest. I think people care about the end product as a whole. The Twitter crowd and the loud Reddit crowd are really the only ones that give a shit, and that's probably less than 1% of the whole player base. They're just the loudest. Everybody else is too busy playing Palworld to even give a shit about it. But the Pokemon copycat saga continues. Oh man, a Palworld data mine appears to have uncovered a pal strikingly similar in appearance to Mewtwo from the Pokemon series. I mean, sure. I would say Mega Mewtwo is they're pretty close, right? There's a lot of similarities, but we could also go to every Digimon, or really Yokai Watch, Monster Hunter, Temtem. Like there's Digimon is the OG. And if they had any copyright infringement case, they would have done it to Digimon years ago. That thing's 20 plus years old. I haven't played it, but I still defend Palworld. Yeah, it's an iteration. It's an iteration. But at the same time, Nintendo doesn't own the monster hunting genre. And I think that's kind of where the core of the fight is that the Pokemon bros are like viciously defending it, saying like, no, there can't be any more. We can't have anything else other than Pokemon. And they're just like suckling the teat of Nintendo, this multi-billion-dollar company. They don't need defending. They have tons of lawyers. They can figure it out. Long before Palworld became a cultural phenomenon, now as in 2024, it was labeled as a Pokemon with guns. And while the early access build we have today bears more resemblance to survival games like Ark in its structure, the pals themselves have come under a great deal of scrutiny. Yeah. I would argue that, again, it's Twitter. It's an echo chamber. So yeah, it's just the loudest people are gonna get all the clicks and the most negative people are gonna get all the clicks. So yeah, why wouldn't they just be like, man, but my Charizard. I also think coming from a huge Pokemon fan when I was a kid, oh, me too. I mean, I have literally the old Pokemon cards sitting behind me on my book stand that I still need to get graded, by the way. Like I have like a hollow Charizard. It's not a first edition, but I have a hollow Charizard Shadowless. I have a bunch of them. Frankly, I really need to get graded. With dozens of designs bearing resemblance to those found across the Pokemon franchise, controversy has been rife, to the point the Pokemon company itself even chimed in just a few days ago, but they also kind of told everybody to kind of shut the fuck up and they'll handle it. There really is no case. You can't copyright an eye. You can't copyright a limb. That's not how copyright works. And copyright is different in every country, but they all kind of follow an international standard. They're not gonna sue. It's not gonna happen. I think people's mind will be blown if that actually happens. And by the way, if you guys haven't seen, they stopped posting, like Palworld stopped posting the number of copies sold because the community manager was getting threats and coming under fire for just celebrating the success of the game. And I think now it's estimated that it's anywhere from 20 to 30 million copies sold now. It's pretty nutty. I feel like nowadays, like Twitter is very much a cesspool where people just like randomly throw threats around. Like, you hear about that more and more. Imagine thinking you need to step up to defend a multi-billion-dollar company. Yeah, right? But then we have this guy named Mewtwo. Good. Haha. Holy shit. Palworld designed that they left in the data. You cannot be serious, man. Like, why would they? That's how design works. And we talked about it before, copyright law and the whole 20%, myth doesn't exist. It is up to the lawyers to decide if it is far enough. It really comes down to Nintendo really feels like they are being infringed upon, and that someone would be confused if they saw this. Why is there no discussion about how Pokemon copied Dragon Ball Z? Do we really want to go down this route and find out all the inspirations for all the original designs? Wait. Here, I found the inspiration for, I found one of the inspirations. I think they should go after them too. That's a lot of pictures of Palworld's netcode. Oh my God. You're not wrong. So, lo and behold, you have a Pokemon YouTuber that's angry and needs to like rile something up about, Palworld, their arch nemesis in the IP right now. I can't wait for Digimon to also make a better game than Pokemon, and then it's gonna be great. But he was among the first to share this Palworld design plucked from the game's code. Eurogamer managed to speak with the original leaker, Brian Cousins, who accidentally found this particular design while compiling 3D models found throughout the game. In this instance, it's a dark mutant pal coming into question as a data mine unearthed a creature bearing a striking resemblance to Mewtwo. From its pointed ears to its 3 fingers, blah, 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 blah. It's similar. Cool. All right, I think we've established that it's similar. This guy mad because Pokemon haven't put out a good game since Black and White 2. Competition is good, looks way better than Mewtwo, and that's just extremely blatantly stolen. Running the gamut of opinions in the replies. Yeah, I would say, like, there's gonna be some people that are gonna defend. There's gonna be some people that just flat out do not, give a shit. And to be honest, the only people that are replying are the ones that give a shit. And they're gonna be one of the two sides. There's not gonna be many like in the middle takes. I feel like, and we try to take a middle take, right? I'm not like screw Nintendo, but again, why are you defending a multi-billion-dollar company? It doesn't make any sense. So here we have a video that's just kind of like showing some of the similarities here. Palworld versus Pokemon. And I don't think anybody's like disagreeing with that. I don't think anyone's disagreeing that there are similarities. I think that the Pokemon crew are just beating a dead horse. While Palworld devs have obviously fired back against Pokemon copycat accusations, millions of players are still debating, and now with the game on the Pokemon company's radar, it's been on their radar, I guarantee, since the first announcement when they literally called it Pokemon with guns. It's baffling that large studios have gotten so lazy that small companies and or members of communities make better content than them. Oh, yes, no, hands down. There's been a very large discussion about how Palworld doesn't have microtransactions, Palworld doesn't have DLCs. I mean, it might eventually, but it doesn't have battle passes, it doesn't sell skins. It's just a good game. And I think I think last year, honestly, was a big year for that. We had Baldur's Gate 3, and granted, that's been in early access for 3 years, but we have games that are actually feature complete, and they're shipping, and they're not nickel and diming. And Monster Hunter was kind of the same. They do a little bit of nickel and diming, but that's a whole different issue for Capcom. Call of Duty, for instance, there is much better custom zombie maps on BO3 than the actual maps. So I would argue it's because it doesn't have to go through the bureaucratic bullshit of a company. Gaming companies are notoriously bureaucratic with multiple revisions and multiple review rounds, with everyone having different opinions about what works, what doesn't, until your idea that was really cool turns into a pile of mush that got approved and shipped. That's the reality. And I think that's why smaller companies like this can just make something, iterate on it, and just ship it, because they're not that big. They don't have the bureaucratic level of, bull there, and people actually have autonomy to be adults. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you have to be able to control content that's coming out of your game or your company, especially if you're like the owner or the CEO. You want to have control on that. You want to make sure that it hits the quality bar that you expect, but at the same time, there's a balance. It's levers, right? And eventually, it just becomes so oppressive that you just turn out this mush that isn't good or bad. It's just kind of mediocre. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at with the gaming industry. And like Destiny 2 is a great example of this. It is one of the most heavily monetized games out of gacha. One of the most confusing ways to how do you buy that game? People are confused to this day how to buy that game, because they designed it that way, you know. And then we have Suicide Squad, for example, but Suicide Squad, always online multiplayer live service game that no one asked for. Just don't buy Destiny 2, much simpler. I mean, or you just get it when it was on Epic for free because they're so down bad they need people to play. Look at Warhaven. Dude, okay, well, Warhaven was honestly just a pile of we played that game less than one stream. It was very bad. And I think you're starting to see a lot of these smaller indie companies pump something out. And I mean craft a game that is either early access but has a solid foundation, or they release a feature complete game like Grand Blue Relink, which is coming out in a couple days, which is a complete package, feature complete game in an era that doesn't have feature complete games. And I think you're gonna start seeing a bigger push for that again because the audience, the consumer, wants that. They don't want to be nickel and dime like Call of Duty. I could definitely say when you look at this, yeah, it kind of looks a little similar. Going back to the point of Mewtwo and this I want to see what he says here. Wait, oh. No plagiarism accusations because all of the legal discourse has been dogged, but this is so creatively bankrupt. Would it be nice to have Palworld's fun gameplay loop without designs that are so comparably to the ones I generally vastly prefer? I mean, that's his opinion, right? That's his opinion that he prefers those. I don't really give a shit. I don't think most people give a shit about the design of the monster. They're like, oh, that's cool, or oh, that's interesting. And then they keep playing and they just do something else, or they'll play the game and just capture it and then forget about it. What matters, and this is, I've said this so many times, what matters is gameplay, not the wrapping around it, not the visuals. Gameplay. Is the gameplay fun? And that's what the Palworld devs did. They made a fun game and then they put a wrapper around it, which was effectively, you know, Digimon, Pokemon over an Ark base. Cause like, to be honest, I didn't really like Ark because I'm not a big dino person. I didn't really want to like go capture a T-Rex. I hated the graphics. Palworld's graphics are much more approachable to me. So yeah, of course I'm gonna jump towards it. BG3 focused on the game and its community of players and making sure the game worked over then pumping out a game for a quick buck and only focusing on the store options after. Yeah, I'm curious what people say about this. Snatchbot is better and came out before Mega Mewtwo. This guy has more belts than an average Yu-Gi-Oh character. You're gonna activate my trap card. Digimon is always superior designs to Pokemon. There's no debate. So it's like weird, right? Like why would they're like, oh, Digimon's fine, but Palworld's bad. Pokemon plagiarizing Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, they all plagiarize from each other. There's difference from having a similar design attribute and having an almost exact same proportions in design. Yeah, definitely. Hands down. There's a massive difference, but you know what? Consumer doesn't give a shit. You can't convince me this is not Mecha Super Boo. This is a good image, right? Like we were talking about earlier with Frieza. I don't think there's like a right or wrong answer here. I think that the Pokemon people are just really just trying to stir shit up because they're so down bad. They haven't had a good game and forever. Everything's just been this weird hot trash because they're kind of stuck on Switch. Anyway, let me know in the comments, guys, what you think. It's an interesting conversation, and I think we'll continue to see this as they add more monsters and everything else. But it's not going away. Palworld's here to stay unless they get sued into the ground. But I really, really, really doubt that's possible. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to join on Discord and the socials and all that jazz. And I will see you in the next video.